I request to Tamboy sir to introduce about today's guest.
Okay. Good morning, all of you. So once again, I would like to welcome you all in the another session of webinar series May 2020, organized by Anna Sahib Dange College of Pharmacy, Ashta. As you are aware that every day we are having sessions of some well-known and renowned personality or dynamic personalities. Our today's speaker, I am very much fortunate to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. Sachin Sawangi sir. Our today's speaker is a dynamic personality in the pharmaceutics field, and we would like to have his educational background first. He did his B Pharm and M Pharm from Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Pharmacy, Pune. Okay. I request all the participants, please mute your audio. Later on, he did his PhD in November 2015 from Shivaji University, Kolhapur. And the topic of his PhD was development of lipid-based nanoparticle drug delivery system and carrier complexes for delivery to brain. Meanwhile, he has also completed the postgraduate diploma in intellectual property law from the New Law College, Pune in the year 2010. He has also completed Six Sigma Green Belt certification course. This was his educational background. His professional experience. He started working with Emcure Pharma Limited in the formulation development department, and he worked there for 2010 to 2011. And later on, he joined as a formulation scientist in Department of Novel Drug Delivery System in Parenterals and Solids in Cipla Limited, Mumbai for more than 2.5 years. And currently, he is working as a manager, technical business development in DKSH India Limited. His main work is related with the development of complex injectable systems for delivery to the brain and cancerous tissue. As a token, or we can say as a indication of his research work, he had filed 2 patents, and one of his patent is under the examination. He had published more than 19 research articles in the international journals and more than 9 review articles which are being published in a very reputed journals also. He is also holding responsibility of a reviewer in various well-known scientific journals, the most important Royal Society of Chemistry Advances. So with these words, I would like to request our today's speaker to begin with the session. Please, sir.
Hi, good morning all. Sorry for the interruption due to the connections. So here we are taking this webinar with related to that overview of generic product filings and the proof of concept studies in injectable drug delivery systems. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude towards you and your staff, especially Tamboli sir, Sandeep Honmane sir and Sujit Desai for inviting me for this webinar and making a very good arrangement. Now we will start here. So here the session, I think so 1 hour. So I'll cover the 2 topics. That is, first one is a generic product filing, and second one thing is that that is a concept proof of concept studies in the injectable drug delivery systems. So here in dashboard, there are the different things that has been covered on that is a single slide. So that is the first part is that introduction. Dashboard means whenever you go any presentation or the corporate presentation, so in that condition you will cover That is the whole, that is the scenario of that presentation, that what I am going to talk on this presentation, or what I am going to cover the concepts which are related to whole topics. So here the first part is that introduction. That introduction, that is the IND, NDA and ANDA parts will be covered. Then second part is that turnover of the overall pharmaceutical industries throughout the India in last to 2019. Then number of the plants, geographics spread. So here almost more than the 1500 plus manufacturing facilities are available, and they are working for the more than 155 markets. Then if we see the therapeutic segments, so in these therapeutic segments, there are the different kind of segments like the cardiovascular, antiretroviral, anti-diabetes, GIT, and the antibiotics are there. Then dosage forms, more than the 33 billion dosage forms, and till now the number of DMFs for the API, then ANDA file, and number of that those received. So in ANDA there are the three different type of the criteria are there. So how many number of the filing, then how many approvals that received, and how many under reviews. So there are the approvals 812, then tentative approvals are 388, and under review that is a 900. So there are more than that is a 2000 score it will reach. Then business segments, it comes under oral injectable, complex injectables, then OTC, then branded generics, differentiated products, like these concepts comes. Then regulatory approval, these are the comes for that is 950 and all. So R&D strength is more than 4,000 or the 4,000 to the 5,000 R&Ds which are situated, which are consisting of the large scale as well as a small scale. And last one part is that paper program. So have you heard about the paper program? Paper means what? So paper, it is a basically arranged for that is the antiviral programs or for the AIDS regions. Means it is a presidential exceptional plan for AIDS regimen. So this is the long form of that. So it has also big size. So we'll start this. May I audible to all?
Yes, sir, you are audible. No problem.
Yeah. So here contents are there. We can go to different parts. IND means what? NDA, ANDA. I think so. In this seminar or the webinar, most of the students which are coming from the second, third, and the final students. So though they may have there in syllabus that IND means what? Means that is the investigational drug application, and the how much period it requires. That you know the details. So I'm not going in the detail of that is the IND part. So I'll go in more on that is the ANDA concepts. ANDA means it's related to only part of that is the generics. So we will cover these topics, that is the new drugs, then FDA requirements for the filing of the generic drugs, then Hatch-Waxman Act and Orange Book means what, then US FDA approval process, then injectable drug delivery systems, and there are some proof of concept studies. So here that is the first part is that brand name and the generic name. So generally you know, or you that is feel that picture that whenever the word comes that is a generic means it is a less price. But according to that laws and the regulations, it comes under the less price, but it is consisting of the surrounded by the other techniques also or the other parameters also. So of course there is a generics are goes in at a less price, but gives that is a equal effect to the patients. So generic drug, you can see here that these are the cost-effective alternative to the branded drug, and already we covered that is the investigational new drugs. I'm not going into detail part, that part. We will cover that is the ANDA part only and NDA some aspects. So this is a global generic markets in terms of dollars. Like as an a, if suppose we see to 2008. So here that is the total revenue is a 615.1 billion USD. So our target for the 2021 is that growth has to be reached by that is a 115 that US dollars. So all the figures that they have mentioned in terms of that is dollars, if we convert in the rupees, then it goes much beyond.
Hello, voice is not coming.
and growth rate is more than that global pharma industry, because India is a hub that where the most of the generic industries which are the working. So they may working or they may work on various parts like as an plain generics, orals, liquids, injectables, like that. And expected growth is that we are expecting up to that is a 15% growth, and projected size by 2020 or 2021 it is a 14% that we are expecting here. Now this is a total global opportunity that we are looking here. So if you see, that is Latin America, it is a 2 billion, US Canada, it is a 50 billion, Western Europe 17 billion, China 3 billion, Japan 4 billion, and rest of the world is a 4 billion. So this total world pharmaceutical sales, if we see, it is near about the 600 billion USD. So this is, and why there is a generic, because out of that there is a more than the 55% growth is occurring in this area. So that's why people are concentrating more in this section. And you know that news that even that is US President Trump also, they have requested that is a hydroxychloroquine tablets, because we are working more on that is a generic concepts. And most of the industries, for example IPCA, if we see from the India, that is IPCA is there, Laurus Lab is there, Dr. Reddy's is there, Intas. So all Zydus Cadila, so all these pharmaceutical companies which are working generic version of the hydroxychloroquine. So none of the industry from the US, they are working or the manufacturing these molecules. So that's why they are requesting us to give the generic formulations. So this is the importance of the generics for India, as well as India's importance against world. Now, you most of the students as well as attendees, you know that the branded price and the generic price difference. So I have just given as a part of the presentation that how is the difference between the brand drugs as well as the generic drugs. So if we see, that is the first part comparison, that is a 2046. It is a more than 2 times. Second row, if you see, that is a citalopram, that is a 5200. It is more than 2 times or the 2.5 times. So there is a drastic or the significant difference in the pricing of all these formulations. I have given just as a pictorial presentation of the tabular presentation for some of the few drugs. There are a lot many drugs of from the injectable parts, oral parts, then topical dosage forms. So they are having each and every dosage form. They are having their generic formulations. So now we have to understand that I think so this might be covered for the final year students, but also for the second, third year students, this is very useful. What is mean by the generic? Generic means it contains only ANDA part, not NDA, not ILD. NDA means new drug application, and ANDA means abbreviated new drug application. So what is mean by the abbreviated? So we will see in the next slides that what is the meaning of the abbreviated. So now in this year, this concept, this slide, we have to see that what is mean by the generic drug. So generic drug means what? It contains same active ingredients. We have to develop a dosage form as like as in a branded company, but it contains certain parameters. So it should be, it should contain same active ingredients, same strength, same dosage form, same route of administration, and the same indications. And most important thing that I have highlighted in the red portion, that is it should be bioequivalent. Okay, if suppose that innovator formulation or the branded formulation have a strength of the 500 mg, and if we are developing strength here as a 300 mg or the 400 mg, then it is not called as a generic drug. Our generic formulation is only related to the, that is a 500 strength. And this bold highlighted portion that I have shown here, that is a bioequivalent part. Okay, bioequivalent means what? That it should achieve that extent of a drug absorption as well as a drug rate of drug delivery, that should be same as compared to the innovator or the branded drug. So that's why I have highlighted this portion as a, it should be the bioequivalent. Okay, now if you see, that is a IIG database and the formulation details for the summary of the product characterizations means what? Have you visited sometimes to the FDA sites or the food US FDA site or the our FDA sites? So whenever you visit that site, if you in that condition they are giving the IIG database. IIG database means that is an inactive ingredient database that have been given. Means most of the times we are developing the formulation or you are doing a practically in your pharmaceutics lab, and you are developing certain syrups or the tablets. So in that condition there are the other ingredients are also there. For example, MCC is there, silicon dioxide is there, then cross powders are there, or certain sodium CMCs are there. Okay, so there is a certain limit on the USFDA site has been given. For example, microcrystalline cellulose, they have given the limit that you should include 50 mg in your tablet, not more than that. Just I'm giving example, not this is the actual part. So you can include the 50 mg of MCC in your dosage form, not more than that. But if you are taking the more than the 50 mg, then you in that condition you have to provide the toxicity data to the US FDA. So in our practical means I request all of you that you follow this IIG database, means visiting to this US FDA site, then carrying out the IIG ingredients, means inactive ingredients we can say, or we can say in other language that is we can call it as an excipient. So what is the maximum limit that we can use in that dosage form? Because suppose you are taking the certain tablet for anti-lipidemic, and you are taking the lactose or the mannitol along with that, means these are the included in the tablets. Okay, and the lactose tolerance in the body is 80 mg per day, and you are putting the 100 mg in that tablet, so it is not acceptable. So these are the some regulations that we have to follow. These are the regulatory guidelines. Okay, means whenever we file the product to the US FDA, or whenever we submit the product to the US FDA, at that time US FDA asks this data to us, that give the toxicity study or the IIG data. So these are the parts. And last part I have given the generic definitions. Generic definitions means it is a pharmaceutical preparation that is similar to the original product, but it is no longer protected by the patent and the sold under a common name. Okay, so this is the generic drug definition that just I have included here. Now we will see in a detail what they are consisting of. So do you know what is this? Any of you? What I have mentioned here?
CTD triangle.
Yes. So here I think so. I don't have any idea about that. Is it in your syllabus or not? But it is whenever I'm sure that it is in a master syllabus, that is the MPharm syllabus in drug regulatory affairs. So here, whenever you file a product to the US FDA agency, at that time you have to carry out all these parts: Module 1, Module 2, and below parts that here have been given. Like as an quality, this is module 3, then non-clinical study is a module 4, and clinical study is a module 5. So you see here, I'll give brief here, that is IND means investigational new drug application, means it is a completely new drug. You have to carry out preclinical study as well as a clinical study. So see here, that is animal data means preclinical study as well as a clinical study. So IND means new drug, it comes under both ways. Okay, so IND again transform into the NDA part. Now next thing is that ANDA. ANDA, it comprises all the parts, means quality, then clinical study, then module 1 and module 2. But it is a divide of these two activities only. Means it doesn't contain animal study or the preclinical study as well as a clinical study also. Clinical study of the final dosage form it contains, but for pure API, there is no requirement of this animal study or the preclinical study. So this is a required whenever you file the regulatory filing of your finished formulation to the regulatory agency. So this is the difference. So this I was saying that where the difference of that ANDA and NDA means what. So this second portion that here have been given here, that is the every ANDA means it is a divide of animal study as well as a clinical study. So abbreviated. So abbreviated means they have maintained the shorten their duration of product filing as well as a product development also. So you can develop your product within a 6 months to the 18 months, means 1 year to the 1.5 year. But if you see the NDA, or that is a pure drug formulations, or there is a new drug formulation, it takes too much time. So there is a time is a constraint from the 10 years to the 1.5 years. So that's why we call it as an abbreviated. So this is the meaning of the abbreviated. And see, so this is the main difference. That is a generic drug doesn't contain this part. That is module 4. This is module 3, this is module 4, and this is module 5. So it doesn't contain module 4. Otherwise, it contains module 3. Module 3 is module 3 and module 5. These are the available in ANDAs. Now see here this portion. Now, do you guess that what it contains? That NDA, ANDA, and DMF. So here NDA means new drug application filing fees that have been given here. ANDA filing fees have been given here, and DMF filing fee for the US that has been given here. So anything, what is the cost in Indian rupees for the filing a new drug formulations? So here 24 lakhs USD that has been given. So in Indian rupees, it comes up to 18 to 20 crores. So any pharmaceutical industry, if they have filed the products to the US FDA, that time that pharmaceutical company has to give the fee near about 18 crores to the US FDA. Now see, same here, second condition, that is a ANDA. So here ANDA, the fees is that 1,76,000 in Indian rupees if we compare. So it is near about 1 crore 33 lakhs. So see the difference, that is a 1 crore 33 lakhs where, and 18 or the 20 crores is a where. So there is a almost 20 times there is a fees for the NDA. So that's why our most of the pharmaceutical companies are concentrating on ANDA, because it has a less fee, less time required for the development. Here NDA, it requires almost 10 to 12 years. ANDA, it requires only 1.5 year. So time is also reduced, fees is also reduced. And last part is that DMF that have been given. So DMF, it is for the API. So DMF costing is less. Now I have in ANDA section, if you see, there are the 505J and 505B2 that have been mentioned. 505J means what? These are the terms. J means generic, and 505B2 means what? It is not a generic. Means here 505B2 means you have to change the dosage form. Means for example, if certain formulation is available in tablet, and if you want to develop into capsule, then that is called as a 505B2. It is not comes under generic. In 505J means it is only generic. It contains only tablet versus tablet, not tablet versus capsule. So like that. So this is the basic table that I have been given here. That is a CMC part. That is a chemistry manufacturing control, then non-clinical study, then human pharmacology. Now we have to see the basic difference between ANDA and NDA and ANDA only. I'm not going to cover the part of the IND because it is much more detailed in your syllabus. That is how is IND, then how it is going to be filed and all. Now we'll see the first two column sections, NDA and ANDA. So basic difference is that second row, that is a non-clinical pharmacology and the toxicology study. We have already covered that. ANDA doesn't contain the animal studies. Okay. And fifth column, fifth row, if you see, that is a clinical data. It is a required, but there is a bioavailability, bioequivalence study is a required. Means suppose if the tablet is a developed or the capsule is a developed, so we have to give to the patients of a certain patients, 50 patients, 100 patients, and we have to take the blood samples of them, and we have to carry out the assay or the percentage of that drug in their blood samples. So we can say here that is a clinical study. So we have to compare the branded formulations clinical study, branded formulations blood samples, as well as a our developed formulation, generic formulations blood samples. If it gives near about that those results, then we can call it as an it passes the bio study. So this is the BABE studies. Now, have you heard about Hatch-Waxman Act in your pharmaceutical jurisprudence? So here,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So here, pharmaceutical jurisprudence. If we see the Hatch-Waxman Act means what? Means before 1984, there is only product patent is available. But after 1984, product patent is there as well as a process patent is also there. Okay, so this is the main difference. So after 1984, what happens? Before 1984, what happens? So before 1984, there is a only provision that only branded formulations or the innovator formulation enjoy their rights. Means suppose there is a certain branded company, we can take a Johnson company. They have developed certain formulations on that is anti-hypertensive formulations, or on the they have prepared the formulations like as on a blood pressure. So if before 1984, the condition is like that. No other company can prepare the generic formulations as like as a Johnson. But whenever the Hatch-Waxman Act comes, in that condition, what happens? The process patent is also comes into the picture, and Indian government as well as the US FDA, they allowed the other pharmaceutical companies, or they have given the rights to the other pharmaceutical companies that you can develop your formulations as like as a Johnson. So there is no poly remains in the market. So every organization or every pharma industry can prepare that formulation. Now see for example, this is hydroxychloroquine tablet. Now actually patent it is from the Janssen or the Johnson, but the one of the organization from the India, that is IPCA, they have developed a patent on this hydroxychloroquine. Okay, so this is a generic version of that. Along with the IPCA, there are the other organization, Dr. Reddy's, Zydus Cadila, Cipla is there, Laurus. So these all organizations which are Alembic is also there. So all these organizations which are the working on this hydroxychloroquine. So instead of the Janssen taking the revenues or the taking the profits from the organizations, all these companies they are marketing their products in the market and they're taking the revenues. Okay, so here one company, instead of taking the profits or the benefits from the organization, 4 to 5 companies which are the taking the profits or the benefits from the organization. So this has given the benefit to our Indian organizations that for the formulations of the generic formulations. So birth of the generics that also occurred in the 1984. After this 1984, the drug prices are also going under the which are the went under the control, as well as most of the pharmaceutical industries which are working on the generic formulations, and they generated their revenues by marketing their products in the US, UK, Europe, as well as Canada and Australia. So this Hatch-Waxman Act gives a very advantageous picture or the advantageous things to our pharmaceutical industry in India. Now we will turn towards next part, that is the para filings. Now there are the 4 type of the filings are available in India. That is first is the para 1, para 2, para 3, and para 4. These concepts may be useful for the final year students because after 2 months or the 2 to 3 months you may face the interview in pharmaceutical industry. That time they may ask this such type of the question that what is meant by the para filings. So para 1 means what? That innovator, there is no patent is available in the Orange Book. Do you know Orange Book? How many people from you do you know the Orange Book means what? Any idea about the Orange Book? So here Orange Book means what? It is a approved drug product with the therapeutic equivalence evaluations. Means whatever the drug product which are the approved, that are the listed on the US FDA site. If you go to the US FDA site, there is a one section is there, approved drug products. So those drug products which are the comes under the Orange Book. Okay, so that is we can call it as an Orange Book. So we will again move towards the para filing. That is a para 1 means there is no patent in the Orange Book. Para 2 means what? There is a patent is listed, but it is expired. Okay, patent is listed but it is expired. Third part is that patent is there but it will expire in upcoming 2 to 3 years. Suppose today, now present year is a 2020, the patent is there but that patent will come into the expiry in the year of 2022 or 2023. Suppose for example metformin and vildagliptin or the sitagliptin, so this is the combination is there. Okay, so this combination that the patent for this combination will expire in 2022 or 2023. Okay, so that's why most of the pharmaceutical industries or the organizations they are working on this molecule, that is a metformin or the vildagliptin or the metformin and the sitagliptin combinations, so that before the expiry they can launch the formulation. So before the expiry of the 2023, they can launch that formulations. That is a metformin plus Vilda or the metformin plus sitagliptin. So they can make a revenue in the market. So this is the para 3 filing. And para 4 means what? There is a non-infringement of the patent. Means we will see in next slide that is how many cases that have been happen in most of the industries, or we can call it as an industry war also. Okay, suppose Cipla have developed a tablet of A ingredients, and another Sun Pharma they have developed the same tablet with same ingredient. Now, US FDA faces the question that to which industry they have to give the approval. In that conditions, most of the if we see the cases, those are the went in the court. Okay, so in the court such cases they are the offering. So there are the dates which are the going on, and at the final conclusion they will give that they have to give the rights to the Cipla or the that Sun Pharma. So these are the cases of that is non-infringement. Non-infringement means what? We have to develop the formulations which doesn't come under. Suppose, for example, here HPC. I have given the example HPC versus polyplasmon. HPC means what? Hydroxypropyl cellulose. Okay, it is used in the tablet as a binder. Okay, suppose we take the two examples. Cipla had developed the hydroxypropyl cellulose taken as a binder in their tablet. If Sun Pharma takes the HPC in their formulation, means hydroxypropyl cellulose as a binder in their tablet, then this is then that case goes into the court. Okay, so this is called as a patent infringement. Okay, but what we call it as a patent non-infringement, if the Sun Pharma doesn't take the HPC, instead of the HPC, if they take polyplasmon in their formulation, then it is called as a non-infringement. Non-infringement means not copied. In very simple language means not copied. Okay, so if the Sun Pharma takes HPC, then it is a copied case. If it is takes polyplasmon, then it is non-copied case. So this is the case of the non-infringement, or most of the companies which are working on the para profiling also. So these are the benefits that have been given. The most important benefit that found for the organization is that the prices for the medicines these are the going to the lower side, because instead of the one organization or the one company, there are the multiple companies which are the comes into the market, and they are making the competition to give the medication at a lower price. So this is the benefit that achieved for the pharma industry, and we are working on these concepts para 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 means patent is there but expired. Para 3 means patent is there that will expire, and para 4 means there is no patent but non-infringement case. Now see, I have given already details to you that upcoming 4 years. So can you tell me all these drugs comes under which para certifications? Para 1, 2, 3, 4. I have given here heading that top 14 drugs going off patent in 4 years. Means their patent will expire in upcoming 4 years. So now you can tell me that in which para it comes under, para 3 or para 2?
It will come under para 3.
Para 2, 3, para 3. Para 3. Yes. Para 3 means what? That will expire in upcoming 2 to 3 years. Okay. So these all molecules which are the going to be off patent in 4 years. So all these molecules which are, I have given the company name also, most of them from the US. See here, Pfizer, Sanofi, GSK, Novartis, Eli Lilly, Merck. In third column, you see Takeda, Merck, Pfizer, Forest Labs, Sanofi. So all these are the US companies. Their molecules which are going to be off patent by the 4 years, means by the year of the 2024. So all companies from the India, you can take Cipla, Sun Pharma, Alembic, Intas, Unison Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, Arvindo. They are working on these molecules, and they are trying to launch the formulation before 2024. Okay, if they will success to launch the formulations before 2024, in that condition they will get a benefit to earn these sales in billions. Suppose first example is that Pfizer 13.5. So if they will success to launch the formulations, then they will earn this type of the money. That is 13.5 billion rupees. Okay, sorry, $1 billion. Now next part is that para 4 certification. Now I'll tell you that how this is the filing or the court cases which are the going on. Para 4 certification means what? There is a non-infringement. They have given the example you that suppose one organization uses hydroxypropyl cellulose in their tablet, another organization uses hydroxypropyl cellulose in their tablet, then that case will goes into the court. If the other organization uses polyplasdon or we can say here vinyl pyrrolidone derivative instead of the hydroxypropyl cellulose, then that case doesn't go into the court because it is a not comes under the copied act because they are not copied that formula. Okay. Now see here. Suppose that is the first company they file their patent or the product, and within 45 days after filing of their product, if other companies don't approach to FDA in that condition, that US FDA directly give the approval to that pharma industry. Okay, in that condition US FDA directly give approval to the pharma industry. Here if second case we see here, if the other company goes to the US FDA, suppose we can take two examples, Alembic and Zydus. Okay, Alembic Pharma, suppose they have filed the one product, so within the 40 days, if suppose Zydus goes to the US FDA and they claims that we also have this kind of a formulations, so in that conditions this total whole procedure is going to be on that is a hold. So this is a completely period is a 30 months. 30 months means 2 years and 6 months. The completely 30 months this process is going to be on hold. So there are the court cases which are the going on. So it takes the whole proofs from the both the organizations, Alembic as well as the Intas also, Alembic as well as the Zydus also. They're taking the uh, proofs from both organizations. That is what is their manufacturing procedure, what is their formula, then how they have developed these formulations, and then finally they give the decision that either on the side of that is Alembic or either on the side of that is a Zydus Cadila. So these are the given here in lowermost portion, that is 180 days, 180 days. Suppose USFDA gives the decision on the side of the Alembic that your formulations we are approving, that Zydus Cadila we are not approving because they have copied your formulations. So Alembic formulation gets the 180 days period of that is exclusivity. Exclusivity means there is no other companies that develop that formulations for 180 days. 180 days means 6 months. So think that for 6 months, how much revenue that Alembic will generate in 6 months only, because no other companies which are in the competition to that Alembic. So no other organizations from India which is a competitor for the Alembic. So 6 months period or the 180 days period is a completely exclusivity. EMR means what? Exclusive marketing rights, only given by the US FDA gives only rights to the Alembic only, not to the other organizations. We are taking just examples for understanding. Now see here, if suppose that is a 30-month period stay not expired, we can say here. So here two columns have been given, here two entries. If the judgment is in favor of the patent holder, means for example Alembic, and if the judgment is in against the patent holder, means in case of Zydus Cadila. So these are the two cases have been given here. So see here, that is the first left part, that is no entry occurs until patent expiry, and second part is that entry occurs after patent expiry. Okay, so either means this condition is depends upon that either maybe the side of the Alembic or either maybe the side of Zydus Cadila. Okay, so these are the periods. Now we see the case studies, BMS and the Mylan. So these are the two patents. This case has been happened in 2000. So see here, they have actually this case has been happened for the buspirone drug. It is the certification. Okay, in the year of the 2000. Then BMS again obtained another patent, and they filed before the 12 hours before the expiry of that patent. Okay, so due to that very strict stringent regulations means that patent is going to be expired on tomorrow, and BMS filed the patent before the 12 hours. So in that condition the case has been gone into the court, that is a between the Mylan and the BMS. So the court have the given the decision is that the brand name manufacturer, you can see the last line, brand name manufacturer at least an additional 2.5 years of the product monopoly. So here brand name is that BMS is there, or the innovator name is that BMS. So BMS court have given the decision on the side of the BMS that he can enjoy the rights for the 2.5 year, means total 2.5 years. Yes, a total 30 months we can say here. Then second case is the diltiazem hydrochloride. These are the two organizations. The first is the OS Marion and second is the HMRI. So here also uh, the cases have been went into the court, and but what happened here, actually they have carried out the settlement by the both the companies. Means what, the actually decision was on the side of the HMRI, but here they have both the companies, they have maintained the settlement. Now you can say the last you can read the last line: in settling the litigation means there is a complaint, we can say here. So, beginning upon the FDA's approval of the Andrax generic products, HMRI would pay Andrax, means HMRI, this organization, second organization, that he or that organization has to pay the 10 million euro per quarter to first organization. So they have carried out the settlement. Okay, so for that 2.5 year periods, for 30 months period, first organization can enjoy the rights in the market. Okay, so this is the case. Now if we see the case study third, tetrazocine hydrochloride, it is a hydrin by the Abbott. So here the cases between that has been happened between Geneva and Abbott. Geneva and Abbott, the other two organizations from the US. So here is also settlement case have been happened. So Geneva agreed to accept 4.5 million dollars from the Abbott. So instead of that, Abbott can launch the product in the market for this 30 months. So for 30 months, for the compensation amount, Abbott will give 4.5 million dollars to Geneva. So such type of the cases which are happening in the market. So these are the high level corporate cases which are due to that patent non-infringement cases. So these are the case studies we have seen, the three type of the case studies. Now, most important part is that bio waiver means what, bioequivalence and bio studies means what. Now, bio waiver means what? Do you know the what kind of a, how many classes of a drugs are available? Class 1, class 2, class 3, and class 4. Okay, so class 1 and the class 3 drugs. Class 1 drugs, it is a highly soluble, high permeable. Class 2 drugs, it is a low solubility, high permeability. Class 3, opposite to that, and class 4, that is a poor soluble as well as a poor permeability. So biowaiver study means what? So class 1 drugs, high soluble and high permeability, and high soluble and low permeability drugs. So these two type of drugs, they don't require bioequivalence study to file a product in the market. So they don't require clinical study also. Means there is not need of to take the blood samples from the patients. So for these two drugs, we can say here biowaivers means there is biowaivers means what, you can bypass the process of US FDA. Means there is no requirement of the clinical study. So here we can call it as a biowaiver. Now you can see in a bioequivalence study, there is a F2 factor I have been given here. F2 means similarity factor, that is a dissolution factor. Okay, that should have to be more than the 50. Whenever you compare the branded formulation and the generic formulation, in that condition, your similarity factor should be more than the 50. And power value means in that conditions, we are carrying out the Cmax study, Tmax study. I think so. You have seen in your biology subjects that Cmax, Tmax, Cmax means highest concentration to achieve that for a specific period. Then time to achieve the maximum concentration. Then area under the curve. So these are the parameters. So these parameters should be lying into the range of the 80 to 125. So F2 should be more than 50 and power value should be 80 to 125. So these are the two bioequivalence criteria are there. So I have given just outline that how many classes of the drugs are there and how the product filings are there. This is the example I have given just in last 6 months. That is Apotex. Actually, it is from the Canada. They are very aggressive in the market actually, but in last year, their owner, they made the commitment of that is a suicide. So that's why the growth ratio or the growth curve of that organization is going on the decline side. It is going to be the flatten. So after that, in last 6 months, only one employee that has been remaining in Apotex for the technology transfer trial organization or the technology transfer department. So now Arvindo and Sandoz, they have acquiesced the Apotex and they have maintained or they develop their organizations on a original level. So this is I have given the just an example that in last 6 months or last 1 year what happens in the market or happens in the pharmaceutical industry. So I have given the just brief outline. Next is that biosimilar markets. Biosimilar markets, you can see that how many number of the filings that have been occurred for the China, India, United States. Because nowadays we are working mostly on that is the solid orals. Then, but this age or this present time is for that is the complex injectables. Present time is for the biosimilar markets, biopharma. Okay, so uh, organizations which are working in these sectors are like Intas, Arvindo, then Dr. Reddy's is there, then Sanofi Aventis is there from the India. So they are vastly working on these bio formulations, the developing of the vaccines formulations. Just you know that the cases are going on the COVID situation, so they are working on these conditions also. So this is the filing ratio of biosimilar markets. So this is the revenue details I have given. It is difficult to understand, but you can see that from the left to the right column, from the year of 15 to 2020. So the revenue is going to be on that is the higher side or the increasing side. And in second figure, in the lowermost part, you can see solid oral section is also there and injectable section is also there. So most of the organizations which are trying to find the product in injectable sector also, topical section also, not they are maintaining their own that is a traditional line, only that is a solid oral. So I have given this filings of one of the organization from the India, like that is Arvindo. So they are having a 10 units and they have filing the products in last year. So you can see here their total generic filing in the market is that 572. You can see here there is a 572 products they have filed in the last year only, and this is the first rank organization in the India who files maximum products in India every year. So that is a 572 is a very big filing. If we see the other filings, for example, Cipla, their or the Sun, their ratio is only limited to 30 or 40 or 50 like that, not more than the 50. So these are the filings. So these are the some examples I have mentioned here. That is you can see on also that is your USFDA site, that how many products which are the filings and what is the date of the approval. These are the examples. Methotrexate tablet is a given, potassium chloride tablet is a given, azithromycin suspension is a given, dolutegravir, azithromycin tablet. So these are the most of the formulations comes under the antiviral, anti-AIDS, like as in the dolutegravir, lamivudine, tenofovir. So antiviral formulations are also there. So this is just for your knowledge I have mentioned here. Now we will see to the next section, that is the proof of concept studies. So I will not go in much. We will go in detail, but not in a complex manner, because it will feel some boresome to you that POC studies. I have handled these formulations in my. This we are marching to a second part, that is injectable formulations. So here injectable formulation I have worked on a different categories, that is anti-cancer formulations, then hormonal contraceptive injectable formulations. Now we will cover the proof of concept studies. Proof of concept studies means what? Certain like as a development of some certain novel concept which will be helpful for our patients in the market. These are the not related to the ANDA part. These are not related to the generic concepts. These are the related to the only generation of a new concepts. Okay, so we will see the proof of concept studies. Uh, this is anti-cancer liposomal lyophilized powder for the solution. Just we take the one example. Here I have given one example that carfilzomib drug is there. It is used for the multiple sclerosis as well as the anti-cancer agents, we can say here. So dosage is that you have to inject to the patients. Here dosage have been given here. Inject to the patients uh, 3 consecutive days in a week. Means first day, second day, third day. So like that, 3 consecutive days in a week we have to inject that formulation. So this should have to be happen for completely 3 weeks. And last fourth week is a rest day period. So we have to give the multiple times of the injections to the patient. So this is the condition I have mentioned here. Now, what is the problem of this formulation? Because whenever you work on any formulation of the product or any research topic, in that time you have to work on that what is the problem in that product projects. So you have to find the solutions in even your regular practicals also. You can find the problems and then you get the solutions to it. So what is the problem for this solution? It is a very slightly soluble in acidic conditions. Okay, this is the first problem. Second thing is that it remains stable in a solution at a neutral pH only for the 4 hours. Okay. Means if suppose we develop the tablet, or if we suppose develop the powder, and if we maintain it for a room temperature, so it remains stable only for the 4 hours. After that it is not remain stable. So what is the requirement of for the stability? So we carry out the lyophilization. Lyophilization means we can call it as in a freeze drying. Just to means just a normal regular example we can say, take here for the maintaining of the stability of your household products. Okay, like groceries and all. So we can keep in a fridge for the carrying out or the extending their shelf life. Same thing that occurs in a pharmaceutical product also. If it remains unstable for the room temperature, then we can carry out the lyophilization. Nothing, lyophilization is a nothing but it is a freeze drying. Okay, freeze drying. So this is the problems, and we have made the solution is that we can carry out the lyophilization of that formulations. So increase its shelf life, solubility, stability. So all problems will be overcome by this concept. So this is the main our statement and whatever the solutions we have given here. So this is the pictorial presentations that how the liposomal formulation that works. First, we have to prepare the liposomes. Liposomes means it is a lipids are there, then drug API is there. So API it is embedded in that lipid system. So we can call it as a liposomes. So it goes in two ways. See here two ways. That is, it goes in directly into the blood, and another part is that because these are the nanoparticle size, so it goes into the lymphatic systems. So whenever it goes into the lymphatic system, again it converts, goes into that your lungs as well as the livers, and their mechanism degradation happens and comes into the blood circulations. And second way is goes into the blood and then comes into the blood circulation. So this is the mechanism of the liposomal formulations I have given here. Now these are the physicochemical properties of the API. Just for your reference, I have given here. So see here. I think so. Pre-formulation lecture have been taken by Dr. Hazari sir. So in that lectures, some concepts have been covered maybe. So here that log P you see here, log P means 3.77. So whenever you goes to the master study or the final year student, they can realize that whenever there is a log P value high, means can you do you give me the idea log P value means high? In that condition, it is a hydrophilic or the lipophilic?
Philic.
Lipophilic. And whenever there is a log P value in the low, at that time we can say it as a hydrophilic. I think you have learned from your physical pharmacy practicals also. So here log P value have been given here. Now chemistry review just for the understanding that I have been given means it is an enantiomer. There is a asymmetric carbon atom, you know that. Then there is a n-terminal residue. Because what? Why this information is required? Because whenever you file the injectable formulation to the or the submit your product to the US FDA, in that condition they request that you give the chemistry review of your formulation. So chemistry review means that how many carbon atoms are there, then symmetry asymmetry particles are there or not. So whenever it goes into the blood circulation, their symmetry remains same or not. So that's why they demands or the request such kind of a data. Okay, and we have given the dosage schedule, that is a 3 consecutive days and 2 consecutive days for a 3 week, and last week is a rest day period. So now see here, just a mechanism of the hydrolysis. So whenever there is a drug, how it becomes unstable. So here NHCO group is mentioned here. Okay, NHCO group is mentioned here. So it goes on to the breakdown. Whenever this drug comes into the contact with the water, at that time there is a hydrolysis is occur, and due to the hydrolysis it gives there is a morpholino picture. These are the two components they will give. Okay, so this hydrolysis here is occur and here is occur. Why this happens? Because there is a acid is there as well as a H2A is there. So we have to take care that whenever we have to develop the formulation or whenever we have to develop the product, in that condition there is a no addition of the water, no presence of the acid. If there is the presence of the acid or the water, then it gives acid hydrolysis is occurred and drug becomes unstable. So this is the main problem. So we have to avoid this breaking. Second part is that same mechanism that have been given, how these breaking or the how this enantiomer breaks. So that has been given. So we have to avoid this. So that's why I have mentioned in pictorial presentation. We have to avoid this during the formulation. Then same thing here, there is a epoxide hydrolysis is also there. Now, how to prevent the hydrolysis? There are the 4 to 5 ways are there. First is that temperature. Temperature you should have to maintain the keep under the cool condition. Then pH that also we have to maintain at a, because this is unstable at a neutral pH. Okay, and it is a low soluble at a acidic pH. So we have to maintain its pH at a neutral conditions, not going to basic towards basic conditions. Okay, and maximum ester stability you see here is at a 4. So we have to maintain the pH of the whole formulations is near to the 4. Okay, is near to the 4. We don't want to go that pH beyond 4. Okay, so these are the parts. Third part is that effect of the solvent. We have to remove the water and replacement by of the water with the help of the other solvent. And last thing you see here, that is a dielectric constant. Dielectric constant, we have to take a solvent in such a way that there is a low dielectric constant. So due to low dielectric constant, there is a low reactions occur. So here we have taken the ethanol, which has a low dielectric constant near about the 25 as compared to the water. These are the possible impurities that maybe they happen. Why there is a requirement of a lyophilization? That reason have been mentioned here. Here because diol impurities are there in here in this section. So diol impurities, due to diol impurities, drug becomes unstable. Okay, so we have to go. We have to convert those impurities into the solution state. So that's why we are carrying out the lyophilization. Why there is a requirement of a lyophilization? Here is the answer. Now, this is the API solvent compatibility study is given here. Just for your reference, you see the last column. All impurity table or all impurity results they have given that is less than 0.1 ppm. Okay, so you see the conclusion here. No impurity is detected, and it is a compatible solvent. If we take the ethanol plus API, here impurities are the developed. So there is oxidation is it because possible mechanism is that oxidation. Now, screening of the parenterally acceptable acids for drug complexation. So here we have given that is a lactic acid as well as a tartaric acid. Fourth, you can see here that is a fourth row as well as a fifth row, lactic acid plus tartaric acid. So they have a pKa value. pKa means dissociation constant. So they have the low pKa value, and being the alpha hydroxy acids are there, so they were able to keep the drug in a solubilized state. And if we see the other acids, citric acid, acetic acid, and succinic acid, they are not alpha hydroxy acids and not able to keep the drug in the solution state. So that's why we have selected here lactic acid and the tartaric acid. Okay, so this is the mechanism that have been given here. So I will tell you the brief that is a DSPJ sodium and HSPC as well as a cholesterol. So what happens in the mechanism? Whenever we DSPG sodium, it is a negative charge lipid is there. Whenever it goes into the low pH around 1 to 3. In that condition, there is a DSPG plus form, DSPG minus forms and the sodium plus forms. So there is at a low pH, there is a charging spaces which are the developed. Okay, negative charge and the positive charge. And we have having here that is a API that is amphotericin B, which contains the positively charged. So DSPG negative charge attracts to the positively charged of that is amphotericin, and it forms that is a complexation. So this is the mechanism that why this DSPG sodium DSPG means that disteroyl phosphatidylglycerol. Okay, so how this complexation occurs? Because at a low pH there is a dissociation of the API as well as a lipids occurs, and there is a complexation happens, and it goes towards that solid complex which happens. But what happens after that? Whenever there is a complex form, we have to increase the pH from the 1.3 to towards the pH of that is a neutral side. We have to maintain the pH of the formulation towards the in the range of the 4 to 5. Because if we have not maintained that pH, then again it is going to be the unstable. So that's why for the maintenance of the stability purpose, we have to carry out first we have to decrease the pH of the formulation, and then we have to increase the formulation. So due to increase in the pH, the drug is not going to be liberate outside. Okay, so this is the mechanism. Now USFDA parameters, you see just bold lines, that is a human plasma study that should have to be carried out, because USFDA needs the data whenever the injectable formulation goes into the blood circulation. So how it works? So they need such kind of a data in vitro, means outside the body. So we have to provide this kind of a data to the USFDA. to give the proof that how it behaves in the body. So that's why they have mentioned here human plasma study. Second part, that 5.5, 6.5, 7.5. Can you tell anybody? Can you tell me anybody that what is the pH of cancerous cells, acidic, basic, or neutral?
Acid
Cancerous cell
less than
having
normal.
the yes, cancerous cell having the acidic pH. So actually, this formulation is against cancer. So that's why we have to carry out the study here. That is a pH 5.5 means cancerous cells, then normal cells, and at a blood level. So we have to carry out the study of the formulations at these three parameters. That is the in vitro study. Then temperature. Temperature studies at a 43 means body temperature as well as the elevated temperature conditions. And why this ultrasound means ultrasound have been given means why we are giving the vibration to the formulations. I think so. You have studied the friability test of that is a tablet. Why we are going to carry out? Because during the storage or during the handling, at that time there is a chances of there is a friability or the chances of carrying out the deaggregation of the molecules from or the deaggregation of the particles from the tablet occurs. So we have to maintain or we have to measure that how much deaggregation occurs or deaggregation of the particle occurs. So we carry out the friability test. On the same line, here we have to carry out the ultrasound. That is the frequency we have to give to the formulation. We have to give the vibrations to the formulation, and we have to see that how much sedimentation occurs or how much there is a precipitation occurs. So these are the conditions. Now this is a QBD concept. Generally, we are carrying out that is a quality by design concept in the industry. So you see in this section, you see in this section that is arrow section, that is three parts: quality target product profile that have been given here, risk identification, and risk mitigation. So quality target product profile means what? You have to identify your each parameters, means what is the particle size, pH, then entrapment efficiency, then drug release. So these are the target product profiles are there. Or in case of a tablet, we can see here what is the tablet size, weight, or hardness, friability, dissolution, disintegration. So these are the quality target product profile. Risk identification means what? What are the risks which are the involved? We have seen the risk here, that is the acidic pH or the presence of the water, or presence of the water also seen, or pH at a neutral pH it becomes unstable. So these are the risk identification parameters. And the risk mitigation means that how we can control. So we have taken here that is a two type of acids, tartaric acids we have taken because it has a alpha hydroxy acids. So this is a risk mitigation strategy. Or here we have carried out the lyophilization process to avoid the instability. So this is a risk mitigations. Okay. So these are the challenges and the risk evaluation that have been comes under here. Then in injectable formulation, these type of studies we have to do. That is metal compatibility, focus stability, tube and filter. Tube and filter means what? In injections, you have seen that there is syringes are there. These are the made up of that is a polypropylene or that is a polyoxyethylene. So we have to see that whenever the injectable formulation that comes into the contact with that tubes, it is we have to check that does it become unstable by coming in the contact with the tube. So we have to carry out that tube compatibility and the filter compatibility study. Filter, why there is a filter? Because during the processing we are carrying out the filter. So we have to see that is there any instability occurs or is there any incompatibility occurs between the solution and the filters. So these are the filter incompatibility study. These are the certain, I think you have seen that round bottom flask in the your practical. So these are the certain preparation methods that have been given, that is solvent evaporation technique. So why we have to give the reasons to certain regulatory agency why we are maintaining the temperature 50 degrees Celsius, why beyond, not beyond that? Because I have given the complete explanation for that. At higher temperature, lipids are near to the crystal transition temperature. At a higher temperature, at a 60 degrees Celsius, 70 degrees Celsius. So at that crystal transition temperature, there is a high chances of adhesion of those lipids to the that round bottom glass, and withdrawal or the recovery, or you see the yield of that formulation, so it goes on the lower side. So that's why we are maintaining the temperature on a lower side only. That is a 50 degrees Celsius temperature, not on the higher side. So these are the parts have been given here. In preparation of a layer, liposomes, whenever you go in pharmaceutics, there is a preparation of a liposome practicals are there. So in round bottom class, you have to that revolve that round bottom pass and the preparation of the film, then hydration of the film. So these are the processes have been given. So these are the certain QBD aspects, that is the quality by design aspects that I have mentioned here. Then same thing that certain instruments, that is lyophilization means what, that is a freeze drying. I think so. In freeze drying, there are the three type of techniques that have been given. That is a freezing, means you have to reduce the temperature till -60, -20 degrees Celsius. Then primary drying, you have to increase the temperature from -60 to -2. From -60 degrees Celsius, you have to come up to the temperature of the 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. And secondary drying means there is a normal room temperature. So there are the three type of stages which are the involved in lyophilization. Then problems encounter during this step, there is a vial cracking, you see in the bold letters, vial cracking and the controlled nucleation. So these are the problems. Why there is a vial cracking occurs? Because you are first you are decreasing the temperature at a 60 degrees Celsius. Suddenly you are going to increase the temperature from -60 degrees Celsius. You are coming to the 5 to 6. So due to increase in the temperature in for a short period of a time, it gives sudden shakes to the vials. So due to that, there is a vial cracking is occur. And whenever you maintain the your rate of the cooling is high, suppose if you go to the, if you observe the freeze conditions at a upper chamber is that supercooling chamber is there. Means there is a, within short period of time there is the ice crystals are the formed. So if you see your cooling rate is a high, means there are a large number of the crystals which are developed in a short period of time. So that's why there may be the chances of there is a vial cracking is occurs. We will see the only three concept of a four concept proof of concept of a study. So this I have covered that how the development is going on, means how the drug becomes unstable, then what are the strategies to carry out to stabilize that formulations, then what is the QBD, means quality by design concept, what are the risks which are they involved, then how we have to mitigate those risks, or the what factors we have to understand, what kind of a mechanisms that destabilize that formulation. We have seen that mechanism of the hydrolysis as well as oxidation. So we have to prevent those oxidation and the hydrolysis during the formulation. So such kind of a parameters we have to understand during the product development in the industry. Okay. Because at an academic level, academic research, I can understand, I respect that kind of a research. We are going into much detail, but to the point of a industry point of view, if we think we have to go through all these concepts, because if we have developed the formulation, that should have to be remain stable for the 6 to 12 months, or that should have to be remain stable for the 3 years if it is a solid oral. So we have to maintain stabilized formulation. So this is a very big challenge in the pharma industry. So that's why we have encountered here. Now we see here that is a proof of concept study. So here proof of concept studies first year that have been given here. Pegylated liposomal formulation with the peptide conjugates. So first important thing is that pegylated formulation. Pegylated means what? That is a polyethylene glycols are there. So these are the mostly used for the concept or maintenance of, that is a solubility of a drug. Most of the drugs which are the insoluble. So in that condition we have to make it soluble. So we have carried out that is a pegylated study. So you see here that is a first figure and the second figure. One in first figure there is a cytotoxic drug. Cytotoxic drug means anti-cancer drug that have been given. Another technique is that antibody it is a made up of, that is a polyethylene glycols. So whenever they comes into the contact, at that time they bind the cytotoxic drug to the anchors of the antibody. So it forms the antibody drug conjugates, and whenever it goes into the body, at that time drug is going to be liberated. So nowadays most of the this corona COVID-19 vaccines which are the working on these concepts, that is the antibody drug conjugates, or the or the preparation or the manufacturing of the vaccines on the basis of this technology. Here we have taken the cytotoxic drugs, but in that conditions they are taking the antiviral drugs. So this is the main basic difference. Second part is that concepts. Second figure is that concept is there. So there are the PEG linkers given here, pendant type. So X linker and the Y linker is there. X linker it is for the drug, that is a reactive functionality, and the Y linker it is for the polyamide chains. So this is the one excipient from my industry, from the Innovel Corporation, Japan. So they are working on this concept. So this is a proof of concept studies one. So most of the industries which are the working on this, also we have also worked on this concept, but not for the antiviral drugs. We have worked on the cytotoxic drug. Next slide. Next slide is that proof of concept study second. Here, ibrutinib drug is there. It is anti-cancer drug actually. Now see the first part. First part in that section, if you see here, 560 mg capsule is here. Okay, actually dose is that 560 mg capsule we have to take for a 3 times a day. Means total drug going into the body is a 1500. Okay, so out of that, if you see the bioavailability of this, actually this drug available in the market in the form of the capsule, but we have given, or we have to give the proof of concept in this way. We have to develop the formulation in such a way that in the form of the injectable, not the capsule. Why? Because if you see here, 560 mg, it is 100%. Okay, bioavailability of this formulation is a 5.8. Is whenever you take the 560 mg in the body, at that time only 32 mg drugs goes into the blood circulation, not 560 mg, or this drug is available to the blood circulation. So we thought that instead of the making this 560 mg tablet, if we make the 32 mg but in injectable formulation, because in injections drug is directly goes into the blood circulation, so it achieves the same AUCs. You see here same AUCs here. Instead of taking 560 mg, if we give the 32 mg in injectable formulation, it achieves same AUCs, means area under curve, means it gives same effect. So there is no requirement of the giving 560 mg. So here these are the cases that has been given. Why we are there is a requirement of a taking 2 to 3 doses in a capsule, because if you take suppose you take the tablet at early morning, that is 10 a.m. So whenever the drug concentration goes down, then again you have to take a second dose. So that's why there is a requirement of a 2 to 3 doses in the day. So this is a case for that is a tablet formulation has been given. Okay, so there is a requirement of a number of a 3 doses or the 4 doses is required. So instead of that, we have avoided this concept and we have taken this formulation in injectable formulations. Now see last column, how much treatment cost is going to be saved here. Means here if you take this capsule, then your cost is near about the 50,000. But if you take in injectable formulations only 32 mg for 32 mg, it gives the cost is near about this way. It is near about 1 lakh, sorry, 10,000. Yeah, means near about 5 times the cost is going to be reduced here. So Imbruvica oral capsules and the LA depots. LA depot means it is a long acting injectable depot formulation that have been given here. So we see the drug delivery. Here 32 mg we have taken here. 1 week depot 32 into 7. It requires only 227 mg. So if we prepare 227 mg for in injectable formulation, and there is a requirement of only given the giving that injection or the dosage only a single time. Suppose we have given the injection to a patient today morning, so next injection is after 7 days. Okay, so there is a cost is also reduced. Then formulation, the API cost is also reduced. Processing cost is also reduced. In tablet, there are the number of the process are there, means compression, coating, packing. Okay, but here in injections there are the not number of the there are the not many other too many number of the process. Here just only carrying out that is the solutions, and we have to make up in the formulation of the lyophilization. So this is cost. This cost is also going to be reduced here. This is a mechanism that we have already covered as well as in this condition also, because it is a nanoparticle size. So nanoparticle size, when it goes at that time, body sense that, means this is a mononuclear phagocytic system, sense that it is a less nanoparticle size. So they say that it is a foreign particle. So they are trying to evade out that particle. So to avoid that, we have taken this nano suspension technology by using the coat of the lipids. So whenever we coating the lipids with the pegylation technology or the polyethylene glycol, there is a no sensation of these macrophages, that they are not going to be sensed by these macrophages that it is a foreign particle. They sense that it is a body particle only. So this drug comes in, they take or they give the entry to the formulation to come into the bloodstream. So there is a no tendency of the evade out of the particles. So that's why we have prepared these pegylated technologies. Then proof of concept study 3, that is an injectable antiviral formulation for the AIDS therapy or the antiretroviral formulations. Nowadays, you have observed that most of the these corona therapy, which are the circumcised to us only to the antiretroviral formulations. Means because the mechanism of the action of the antiretroviral formulation is the same like as any against to the corona. Because in antiretroviral formulation mechanism of the action is that reverse transcriptase inhibitor, okay, ACE or we can say here that they attaches to the ACE receptor and carrying out that is a reverse transcriptase inhibition is occur here. So, for example, if we say the doses of this formulation is near about three, you can take here that is a efavirenz capsule. Dosage is having a 500 mg. Then emtricitabine capsules. It has a dosage near about the 300 mg. Then tenofovir is there. Tenofovir is having a dosage of a 300 mg. So if we calculate all the doses, so it goes near about the 1100 so 800, 1800 gram. This it is near about to the 1.8 gram oral capsule. And the capsule size or the tablet size is a 50 tablet. Whenever you take on the longer period of a time, so you see in these kind of a patients that there is a certain their cavity of their mouth is going to be lesser. They are not going to accommodate that 50 tablet. And a certain esophageal colonization as well as a oropharyngeal colonization is also occurs. Means certain candida species also makes their colonies into the throat. So in that condition, they are completely not able to that administer that formulations of the 50 tablet. So in that conditions, we have to give the formulation in such a way that the particle size, the tablet size is going to be reduced, as well as the dosage is also reduced. Because taking 1.8 gram daily, it is a very harmful as well as a very difficult to that degradation happens into the GIT. So it is not feasible to give that is a 1.8 gram because it gives more side effects. So in that condition, we have to reduce the size as well as reduce the dosage also. So we have prepared here that proof of concept as well as we have worked on the formulation that reducing the particle size by the working on the concept of the SMERS, that is a self microemulsifying drug delivery systems, and converting into the capsules. Okay, because the solubility of these API is very high in the lipids as well as in surfactants. So in these conditions, we can carry out this part. Another technique is that we can prepare microemulsification and the converting into injectable dosage, no? So that the dosage is going to be reduced. There is no requirement of taking the formulation by the oral way. Okay, so these are the parts. And last concept, that is a proof of concept studies 4. This is the actually lyophilization. Actually, main branded formulation is available in the market is in the form of a lyophilization. So lyophilization, actually cost of the lyophilization because due to the maintenance of the electricity, maintenance of the equipment is a very high. So that's why here we have bypass that process, and we have carried out the formulation in such a way that we have to prepare the formulation that is ready to dilute. This we have to take this carfilzomib drug. See here, first one is the carfilzomib. It is anti-cancer drug. We have to take lactic acid as well as a solvent in such a way that carfilzomib has a higher solubility in these two acids, lactic acid as well as a solvent. So we can make a maintain their solution in this form. Whenever it becomes solution, then we can carry out the lyophilization. But here lyophilization is not required because we have to carry out that is a single very small dosage, that is near about 2 ml 3 ml dosage. So we have to carry out the filter instead of the lyophilization. We can carry out the filtration of that. We have to that pack those formulations in that 1 ml vial or the 2 ml vial and give to the patient. So through the point of the productivity, lyophilization cost is the save here. Then uh, through the point of the productivity, then second thing is that the dosage regimen is also going to be reduced because we are carrying out the formulation on a very low level. Means we are preparing 2 ml vials instead of the 50 ml vials. So this is the advantages. Okay, so these are the parts have been covered here. Now most important thing is that career ways. Purposefully I have maintained this slide. Now for up till this present these slides we have covered all the parts of our presentations. Means how there is a generic filings are there, and what are the weights. So this is the first part, and the second part is that how the formulation is going to be developed in the pharmaceutical industry, what cares we have to take in the pharmaceutical industry. And third section is that I have given 4 type of the case proof of the case studies. Some workings are the going in the industry, some work industries which are the working through these concepts to develop this such kind of a formulations. Okay, so complete scenario that has been completed here. Now this slide I have purposefully kept here because most of the students which are attending this webinar. So here two sections I have mentioned here. That is the first section and this is the second section. Now I request all of you that you don't concentrate on these sections. You have to concentrate on these sections because first section is that because whenever I ask certain questions to any that BPharm or the MPharm candidate that after 2 to 3 years or after 4 years, where would you like to go? So most of the people they are saying these answer productions, QA, QC, pharmacovigilance. Only these answers I'll get. But you do concentrations on these ways also. There are the different type of the awaiting career avenues are there. First, I'll tell you that is a life product cycle services are there. In life product cycle services, there are the different concepts means like as a market research is there, market intelligence is there. Second part is that business intelligence. In business intelligence, you have to carry out that is a business analytics as well as a market research. Third part is that techno-commercial. Techno-commercial means it is that what I presently in this field, that is a techno-commercial means taking the excipients and we have to apply that excipient knowledge while developing the formulations. So this concept is also going in full-fledged in the market. In complex generics R&D, it consists not only solid orals, it consists biologics, then biosimilars, then complex injectables like liposomes, microspheres, then mRNA vaccines. So such kind of drug formulations which are available in industry, and these are the very few peoples which are working in this sector. Then next part is that health economic outcome research. Health economics outcome research means what you have to that postulating suppose there is a certain if you take the example of a Novartis company, so they are working on the health economic outcome research. Means they are having the number of the formulations, 5 to 6 formulations are there. So they can work on what is the product strategy is there, what are the needs of the patient, what is the market needs, then what kind of a forecast in upcoming 5 to 6 months. So such kind of a thinkings or such kind of a works which are the going in the health outcome research. And last one is the portfolio strategy. Portfolio and the strategy which are the related to the project management. Not only project management, but it considers different kind of a things. Suppose, for example, if you are working in R&D and you have a knowledge of that how the product goes into the market and how the product files into the market. In that conditions, if you go ahead, there are the different teams comes into the picture. That is a supply management team is also comes into the picture. Then technical support comes into the picture. So in this sector, you have to manage all the parts from the R&D, then analytical parts or the analytical department, regulatory section. So it comes under this part. So all these awareness which are the waiting for you. So I request all of you that you concentrate on these sections only. Yeah. So this is the end of the presentation. And just before going to these thank you sessions, I want to tell you some concepts which are going into the market. So this one part is that related to that effervescent formulations. Actually, we have seen that different concepts which are coming to the regulatory market. But nowadays, most of the domestic formulations or the domestic companies, means like a small scale organizations from Maharashtra or India, they are working on these concepts. So this is the effervescent system already ready to use is there. So it is a one type of excipients. So you have to take just excipient and your API and just only compression. So all these processes are going. So here all these processes are inhibited in this section. So if you see the formulation, I'll give active ingredient. You can take any ingredient which is required for the effervescent formulation, vitamins, tablet, or any other API from the herbal categories. Then do mix with the stable feeds. Add your flavors, lubricates. Then dry blending, carrying out compression and the packing. There is no requirement of that is a weight granulations and all or the other processes also. So I'll give the two type of the formulations that we have developed here. That Powerade sports drink tablet formulations. Since it is actually this is the formula avocado oil, testiva, then stable feeds means this is our ingredient and this Powerade. So you have to mix up and making up a tablet. Then whenever it goes into that water at that time, it forms this type of a systems. Means tablet we have to put up into the glass of the water and you have to drink it. So this is the technology. Then second part is that Nordic cherry extract tablet formulation. So this is works on the same way. So I request you from your staff members as well as from the students that you can develop such kind of a products or the such kind of a projects at your final year, third year, so that it will be useful for your college also, as well as it is useful for your own experience also. And for the whenever if you request your college that to file this formulation for the local FDA, so it doesn't have that is a maximum cost more than 20,000 30,000 rupees. If they file this product to the local FDA, then your college is also able to market these formulations in the market by your own brand name. So these are the concepts. So from my side now it's completed. If you have any questions you can ask.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for such a nice and wonderful session. So I would like to request our
Thank you, sir.
students that get your doubts clarified from our speaker. Unmani sir, there is a little bit noise from your side. Go ahead.
No,
Okay, let it be. So the our speaker explained the things right from the initial the patent war as well as industrial war, para filing, para 1, para 2, para 3, para 4, as well as how to prepare LA reports and the testing for, as well as proofs of certain studies. And icing on the cake, I think that the future career avenues, what he told. So definitely our student must concentrate on the new future avenues, what he had just summarized in his last slide, as well as some formulations which he talked about that you can deal with your final year project. So that was a very essential information, or we can say very important information. Yeah, that is what I think. So I request the students, if you are having any sort of doubt regarding these NDA and all these things, please ask the questions.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yes.
Desai, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sachin sir. As usual, you are given very fantastic and wonderful presentation to us and our students. So my question is that when we are I'm doing one of my project, whatever my one drug is hydrophilic and one drug is lipophilic.
Okay.
So can we whatever the one is alendronate and one is simvastatin. Alendronate is hydrophilic. I want to conjugate that drug with another API, that is cholesterol hemisuccinate. Can we make this liposomal formulation according to the increasing binding efficacy?
Yes, we can do the liposomal formulations because liposome contains two parts. One is hydrophilic head and lipophilic tails. So whatever your hydrophilic drug we have to prepare in such a way that hydrophilic drug have attached to the hydrophilic heads of the lipids, and whatever your that is the lipophilic portion that has to be attached by certain linkages to the lipophilic portion of the that lipids or the lipophilic tails. So in this way, it can be embedded in the both parts, that is lipo parts and the hydrophilic. I can tell you.
Okay, okay, sir.
See this slide. So here, if you see in this part, so whatever that is these round portions which are the comes here like as an hydrophilic heads, okay, and bottom also you see that is this portion is also hydrophilic heads, and between this it is a lipophilic, or between this cavity is a lipophilic. So we have to prepare the formulation in such a way that lipophilic goes into this cavity and hydrophilic remains aside in this part. So it can be prepared, but I have seen very few research papers that it contains two type of a drugs that embedded in the liposomes. So we have to give more focus on the carrying out the literature that is it feasible or not. So like that.
Sir, loading is possible in
Loading is
liposome
possible.
formulation
Yes,
because
loading is
combination
possible.
of drug, because where to our final target is equilibrium or equal drug is goes into the final formulation. Whatever in lipophilic drug is directly goes into the membrane, that will goes 80 to 90%. But whatever hydrophilic drug, that is solubilized in water, I think. So that why one research paper I gone through that they should be conjugate that uh, hydrophilic drug synthesis, and then where loading efficacy is increased.
Yes, that approach can be also useful. Means if it means where if it is a problem is that if it is a soluble in water and there is a degradation or not getting the assay proper. So in that condition, we have to substitute the water with the other solvents which have hydrophilicity and which may make their combinations or which may make their
Yes.
complexation with the drug. So through this way we can work in this sector. In this sector, and another part is that where to see that what kind of a functional groups are available on the your hydrophilic drugs. Okay,
Yes.
so that can attach with any other moiety. For example, PHA approach is also useful here, so because it
Yes,
is a
sir.
hydrophilic, so it can attaches to the hydrophilic functional groups of your API, and it may remains uh, embedded section or the embedded part.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, thanks.
Yes, definitely means the concept about the liposome as well as phytosomes our students are studying right now in third year. So again, it is a good avenue for the herbal drugs. Definitely they might have got benefited by this presentation, as well as if they want to launch some new products. So how exactly they are going to file these new products. So definitely they are on the right track after listening this particular session. So I like to request students. So in the chat box, I had posted one link to give the feedback for the today's session. Okay, Aditya Bangar want to ask one question. It is in a chat box. Sir, does FDA monitor some side effects of some safety problems regarding with the generic medicines? If generic medicines are having any side effect,
Yes.
or does they monitor by the FDA or safety problems? So definitely very sure FDA is going to monitor these problems regarding the side effects, or we can say the safety problems, because it's the whole and sole work of the FDA. You can say it is for.
Yes, in addition to this, whenever we develop the formulation, at that time, whenever if we file the product, so they request us that excipient compatibility as well as excipient toxicity study. So in first part, I have mentioned that IIG database, that is a
Yes.
inactive ingredient database. So in that FDA site, they have mentioned there that how much concentration you have to take, how much maximum concentration you are allowed to take in your formulation. If you take more than that, then FDA requests your data that you give the toxicity study on the animals, or the animal study or the human study also. So they monitor the study.
Okay. So okay, I would like to all the participants, please turn on your video so that we can have a group photograph. Participants, please turn on your video. Actually, I'm not able to see the video of any participant. Means several participants haven't turned on their videos. Okay. So, Manmani sir is with us. Manmani sir, can you hear me?
Hello, Tamboli sir.
Amboi sir, Sandeep sir, some noise is there from your side.
Yes, I'm sorry for that interruption. There was a little bit issue with the connectivity. Manmani sir, please proceed. Okay.
It's time to vote of thanks of today's session. Hello.
Sir, continue.
Uh, it's my great pleasure to say vote of thanks of today's webinar session. We have completed our 7 days of these webinar sessions, and today is the 8th day of webinar series arranged by ADCP. I'm very much thankful to today's speaker, Dr. Sachin Sawanke sir, for accepting our invitation and guided our students in very intellectual manner. He has covered ENDA, ANDA, IgG database, Orange Book for approved drugs, stages of filing a generic product, global generic market, case studies, and the development of injectable formulations and QBD concept for this, and some advanced career opportunities for the students. Thank you, Sachin sir, for guiding our students. It will be helpful to our students in future. And I am very much thankful to our founder, Honorable Appa, and Secretary Rajendra Dange sir for providing such a wonderful platform to us. I am thankful to our beloved Executive Director, Kanai sir, for his kind support. And thanks to our beloved Principal sir for initiating such motivated idea for guiding students in such a situation.
Yes, but host is different now. You are not getting.
No problem. Desai sir, I'm here.
No problem, Tambo sir is there.
Okay.
Thank you all of you for your patient listening and your presence. So hereby I will declare this meeting completed and I will end this meeting for all. Thank you once.